Hello and welcome to Cloudforest Vibes. My name's Bobby, and this is how I grow orchids and carnivorous plants. Hello and welcome to Cloudforest Vibes. Today's video is a very exciting video again. Today is the day that we're going to announce the winners for the 1,000 subscriber giveaway that we did last week. There were 10 people total that ended up taking my little Cloudforest Vibes quiz, and it was extremely close between everybody who took it. So I had to come up with a grading system. I never in my life thought I'd have to do that, but I did. I guess that's what you do when you create a quiz for people. So I had to come up with a grading system and figure out exactly how to score it so I could give you guys the best fair chance at the prize, or prizes, I guess I should say. So I am going to hold the suspense just a little bit. We're going to have a quick little look around, very, very quick, and then we will get into the results at the end of the video. So I won't make you wait too much longer. Let's just take a quick look at some blooms. I've got some new blooms open, some blooms fading, blooms coming, all that good stuff. So we are going to take a look at all of that real quickly, and then we'll get right into the results. So before we even go into the grow tent, we are going to take a look at this plant. This is my Brassanth Mykai Louise, and this is the original section I had left. I put it on this mount, last ditch effort to save it. It produced a growth last year and then just stalled out. It did absolutely nothing, and this used to be a pretty vigorous grower at least, and it just took its time. It didn't do anything with roots, it didn't do anything at all. This season it did produce a growth here and a flush of new roots, I may say, that did hang in there, which I'm super happy about. That's the only reason this orchid got saved, and I am proud to say we do have a couple buds right here that are gonna open any day now. I'm saying probably in the next week or so. It'll be a little bit, probably a couple weeks before you see them, but that is extremely exciting news. Really neat. It shares the name, the Louise part of it shares a name with my grandmother, one of them at least, and she was a very special person to me, so I had to have this, plus the blooms are gorgeous, so that always helps. Let's see, tent talk. My extractor fan, not my extractor fan, my circulator fan that used to be clipped down there, the white one, clamp on, little 6-inch, finally gave out. I seem to go through those pretty regularly in my tent setup. I think it's the humidity. It just does not like it, and they do kick on pretty frequently. They run quite a bit, more so than you would run in your house if you were going to use them, I assure you of that. So I've worn them out. I've bought a few from VivoSun. I'm going to do another updated video on my tent here soon. There's an old one you can check out. You can see the setup. But this one here is a Honeywell. It's a oscillating. It's much larger than I expected it to be. But it looks like a really good fan. It's on the lowest setting now. And you'll see as it oscillates back and forth, which I did buy the oscillating one this time, that the plants get a nice little kick of air, very strong. I'm a little worried about the Draculas down here right next to it, to be honest. I don't want them to get too many drafts, but I will just have to keep an eye on them and make sure. Might not be a bad thing either. I know they like a lot of air movement. I've been trying to figure out whether I want to keep it oscillating or stationary. All the trials and tribulations you go through when you add a new piece of equipment, and again, this is much larger than anything I'm used to, so it's putting out a lot more airflow, and it's something I'm really going to have to take into account when I'm going to be running this throughout the duration of its life. Let's see, getting into the blooms. I told you there would be blooms. My Phalaenopsis bellina is back, and not just any bellina. This is my other bellina. My main bellina, the one that we've always looked at, is this big guy right here, and when I got this, it came with a little tiny guy next to it in the pot, and that is what this is. So this is the first flower, probably the only flower this season from this plant. but it is the first bloom off of this orchid, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm really interested to see, I guess I could look at pictures, but I'm not going to do that, whether there's any kind of variation between these two. Sometimes there's sibling variations and things like that, and I really am quite interested to see if these two end up having any kind of a variation between the blooms. It looks pretty similar, but I will say this one does appear to have a little bit more pink in the petals and sepals, so only time will tell again. We'll see next season, but that is a curious thing to me. I really hope it does, and it is beautiful. Let's get in here and take a closer look so you can see what I'm saying. I don't recall my other one having that much pink in this upper portion, so I will have to keep an eye on that and see, but I may have two different, varieties or clonal varieties or whatever you want to call it. So on to some other big news. Up here I have my Ionopsis utricularioides, and I do love these blooms. The first time I ever saw this plant, I knew I absolutely had to have it. And this is last year's growth. It came to me like that in spike, and it has put out a growth. And though it does look a little bit sad and dehydrated, that's because it is. If you look closely, the root system really took a battering when I waited too long to mount this thing, and I since have put it on this piece of cork bare rooted, and it's starting to produce some nice new roots with the new growth. So the exciting part of this is it again is in spike, and I absolutely love these blooms. I cannot wait to see them. I do hope it hangs in there. Now, other cool news. Some of you guys know this plant, and I know that because of my quiz questions, because this was my very first ever orchid. This is a little miniature Phalaenopsis. This was from Home Depot. It's a pinkish one. I think it has mostly pink blooms in my opinion, and I will never get rid of this plant unless it keels over. So the plant almost keeled over and I almost had to get rid of it not too long ago. But I've taken some of my other friends' suggestions and I put it in some husk mix, and I'm telling you what, so far the proof again is in the plants. I am sold on the husk mix. It has really helped this plant be a happier plant. This thing was just dying, yellowing, sad, and right now, as you see, it is in spike again, and I'm gonna let it bloom. I haven't seen these blooms for over a year. I miss them, and we will see those here in the not too distant future. The buds are just starting to form. Over here I have this Dendrobium rotostictum, and that thing is worth a closer look, so give me a moment. Again, here's my Dendrobium rotostictum. This is the first cluster of blooms to open, and they are absolutely phenomenal. I am in love with this plant and have been for quite a while. The first time I ever saw this was on Rogers Orchids, and I just knew I had to have it when I saw it there. Delicate, very crystalline. It's got the purplish pink and the green venation. And if you guys are into dendrobiums and grow intermediate to warm, you absolutely have to have this one. Pretty easy grower for the most part. Pretty typical dendrobium care, except for it's not a rester, so it's even easier. Really neat little plant, and I'm very happy to see those blooms again. I have some other pretty good news here. This spike is my Encyclia tampensis, and it's not one, but it's actually two. And I'm very excited about this because this is the second time it's going to throw up blooms this season. It had a really weak blooming this spring. I think it only had 1 or 2 blooms on it. I think only one made it. But this time around, it looks like we're going to have quite a few. So I'm very eager to see those again. And I'm excited that the plant is happy enough to bloom twice. That means it is definitely in its happy place. I think relocating it over here was a real big win, getting it more light. And honestly, other than that, I've kind of ignored it. Being that I live in the same country that it's native to, just a little higher up in elevation and I guess latitude or whatever that is, longitude, sorry. My tent conditions here are near perfect for it, so I just hope for continued big things from this one. It's definitely my best growing Encyclia at the moment. I have our Brassivola Regina here still in bloom, looking fantastic. These things do last a few weeks, and the smell in the evening is absolutely phenomenal. It's pretty perfumey, and it is soon going to be joined by the Brassavola subulifolia. The spike here looks like it's going to have 4, maybe 5 blooms on it, and that's going to be about the same that we had last year. So I'm hoping that maybe one of the other growths that popped out this season will bloom, but if it doesn't, it still looks like we're at least going to see these flowers again, which is really good. On the Brassavola front, let's look at this guy. This is a cool orchid. Justin from Justin's Orchids sent me this. This is my Brassavola nodosa bill spots, and it is just taking over the mount already. I've shown some pictures of this to him and to Paula, who got a division of this, and it is just really, really a strong plant. He told me it was a strong grower, and he did not lie one bit. Look at all those darn roots. I've got 4 new growths on this plant, including the small one that was on it. The small one that was on it when I got it is this one, so it's very, very quickly maturing. I've got some nice red spotting on it, so I am hoping for big things. I just saw Justin posted a whole bunch of pictures of his in bloom, and it is a phenomenal looking plant. So very eager to see those blooms in my tent that grew for me. That's going to be a real big accomplishment, but I wish all orchids grew as strong as this one. Jeez. I have a Barcaria here. This is one of my new acquisitions, one of my new genus, if you answered that question correctly in the test. And I had 2 spikes. I do not know if the one on the left is going to make it, but the one on the right appears to really want to go. So was not expecting that whatsoever. This is a really new plant, and it looks like we're actually going to get to see the blooms this season. So that is really cool. Gotta get it hung back up. Excuse me. I cannot find the hanger. Okay, good job. There we go. Let's see, what else can we talk about, guys? Our Laelia harpophylla. Geez, I don't know if I can get to it right now. We're gonna have to do a sneak shot. Anyhow, oh Lord. Yep, I screwed that one up. Hang on, guys. Our Laelia harpophylla, forgive the sneak shot here. I'm shooting in between a whole bunch of other plants, but it is still going strong. It is a beautiful little splash of orange over there in that corner. And I do have a couple more spikes coming that look like they're all going to produce at least 1 flower. So I'm very, very excited to see more of these blooms this season. Again, it was a really long wait for this one, and I just love this plant. This is my first Laelia to bloom for me, and what an awesome Laelia. I really, really do love it. More to come on this plant soon. I think I have some care collab plans with Nina, so if anybody else grows this plant, please let me know. I would love to get you guys in on the care collab for it, but that should be coming here sometime this month. Maybe we'll do a Halloween one with the orange blooms. Not sure. Anyhow, I think that's enough. I've got more, you know, we've got this new frag. I've got the Harryella is back in bloom. I mean, there's just blooms going off all over the place. It is fall, and spikes going off all over the place. I've got a twinkle, I've got a new Orangus that's in spike, all kinds of cool stuff going on, but that is not the point of this video. So without further ado, I'm going to sit the camera back on its tripod, and I'm going to get into the winners of the competition, because I know that's why you're really here. So thank you for entertaining my little tour. Here we go with the results. Alrighty, so we are getting ready to announce the winners to the giveaway, but I want to let you know a little bit about how I came up with this. So my grading system was 1 point for a correct answer, 0.5 for a partial, and 0 for an incorrect answer. As I said before, the results were extremely close, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to read off the answers to my questions first, and then we're going to get into the winners. The first question that I asked was, what was my first orchid? The answer to that, as I mentioned earlier, is my pink mini Phalaenopsis. No ID, but I do think there is actually a name for that one. I cannot remember the name off the top of my head. If I can find it, I will put it somewhere on the screen, but I don't have any proof of that. I think it's just, oh, Soto Vivian. I think it's a Soto Vivian. but I'm not 100% sure. So to me, it's a no ID pink mini fowl from Home Depot. That's how I have it in my notes. Number 2, what came first, my tent or my tank? A lot of you guys got the right answer to this. I guess it was potentially a little confusing, but the correct answer was my 10-gallon tank. That was what came first. Before the tent, I had everything sitting on a little bit of a trunk over here in this area right in front of the window, and things took off rather quickly. So that's how I ended up with my first tent. And like I said before that, I did have the 10-gallon orchidarium. Question 3 was, what was the first orchid species I ever owned? I had a lot of people answer this question wrong, to be honest. Now, this was not a trick question by any means, but as I started to go back and do my own research, I really start to wonder maybe if I was misguided in an earlier video or something like that. But it turns out that my first orchid species that I ever owned was Dyneema polybulbon. I received that on September 15th of 2018. So that was in fact my first species. Nobody guessed that. I had a lot of people guess Bulbophyllum ambrosia, and I may have said that potentially incorrectly in one of my earlier videos, but as it turns out, that was not my first species. The second, third, fourth, and fifth species were Lepanthes. That was my Equigenera order. A lot of people guessed Lepanthes telepogoniflora or Calydiction, something like that, but those were in fact not my first species I had in my possession. I received those on September 19th of 2018, so just a few days later. However, Dyneema polybulbon did come first. Number 4 was, what are the last 3 new genus of orchid I've brought in this season? And at the time of the video, the last 3 new genus were Coleogene, Zygopetalum, and Barcaria. So a lot of people guessed partially right on a lot of these. I think some people might have been referring to a newer video or maybe went back a little bit too far. But most everybody got partial credit on this, and a couple people definitely got the answers right. So definitely Coleogene, Zygo, and Barcaria. Number 5 was, how many orchids do I have in my collection? I actually had to go around and count, guys, so I've gotten so many new ones in that I haven't even logged into my notes yet. I'm still rebuilding my notes after losing all of them, so I had to actually go through and do a hard count. And the number that I ended up coming up with, I counted 3 times, I got this number twice, was 221 orchids total. Between the tent and the tank, that is how many I have in my collection. Number 6, how long have I been growing orchids? I looked back again in my notes. I wanted to make sure I had this answer right, and the answer is I started growing orchids in August of 2018, so just over 3 years. I thought perhaps it was the spring as well. When I moved in, it seems like it went so fast, but I definitely bought houseplants first and some other things, and the orchids ended up being a few months after I moved in and finally worked up the will to try them. So that is that. So 3 years and 2 months to be specific, but just over 3 years is the answer. What is your favorite video on my channel? That was a opinionated question. There was really no wrong answer. Anybody who answered that got it right. But my favorite video on my channel is the orchidarium overview, and how to basically all the parts and pieces and everything that goes into the tank. That is my favorite part of my collection. I built it myself, so I've got a lot of pride in it, and that is definitely my favorite video. I'm going to do a very similar video soon for the tent. I did an old one, and for some reason it was on my old editing software and everything else. It just did not come out the way that I wanted it to come out. So I will be doing a new video on my tent setup here in the near future. I've made lots of upgrades. I've got this thing chocked full, so I think it's time. But my favorite one so far is the orchidarium video. Number 8, what other plants do I grow besides orchids in my tent? The correct answer to this question, and lots of people got this right, most everybody got partial credit on this, is Pinguicula, Nepenthes, Sundew, Tillandsia, Sphagnum moss, and terrestrial moss. Lots and lots of different stuff. And I have epiphytic moss growing in here now too, so that's something that has made its way into my collection on its own naturally, but it is something that is nonetheless growing in here. And I do have ferns growing now. I've got all kinds of little hitchhiker plants and stuff like that. So there was lots and lots of right answers to this question. But what I bought to grow in here is what I said before. So Pings, Nepenthes, Sundew, Tillandsia, Sphagnum moss, and terrestrial moss. Number 9. In which of my videos did I change up my channel introduction? Now, someone actually surprised me with this, and I didn't think of this because I did a welcome to my channel video, which is the first time you ever saw this segment on one of my videos. But the true answer to this question, the one that I came up with, was Cattleya Tour and Discussion on the differences between types of Cattleya type orchids, which is a ridiculously long title. Forgive me, a little bit of a cringe moment there, but I didn't want to change it because it is somewhat decent video, I guess. I do need to do an update. I have a lot more Cattleya types now, and lots more to talk about with my successes and whatnot, but I have kind of gotten away from those type of videos for some reason, so forgive me guys, getting back to them, but been so busy that sometimes those videos take a lot longer to produce, so I have missed out on several. Number 10, and the final question. Why did I start my YouTube channel for orchids? This is again a very broad question, and there is a very broad answer to it, but my reasons behind starting this channel, I definitely wanted to entertain. I really wanted to help educate people and help people. The big thing for me is help people grow orchids. And my real big desire deep down for starting this channel was to help take some of the mystery out of growing orchids, especially the miniatures. There's so much mystery in growing plants like Lepanthes and some of your little Cloudforest miniatures, and they are really great to grow. They're so rewarding, and I just love them. Those are my favorites. That's why I have my tank set up. I love every single plant in this tent. But of all the plants, if I had to get rid of my entire collection today, you can rest assured the tank is never going anywhere. There's no reason why that would leave. It takes up so little space, and those are the plants that I am truly, truly passionate about. If I could have a tank the size of this tent and have every Lepanthes species chock full of the walls and every pleurophthalid that I could fit, I would absolutely do that. So don't get me wrong by any means. I love all of these plants. I hope to have a wonderful greenhouse set up one day where I can grow giants like this to their full potential and everything else. But my deepest passion is the miniatures, especially Lepanthes and things like that. And when I first got into them, they were just shrouded in mystery. So hard to find information, so hard to find certain people to talk about them and give you tips on them. And I really, really wanted to break that cycle. I really wanted to make it, you know, so that information about those type of plants were accessible to everybody. And along the ride, I've learned so much about growing all these other plants that has become another thing. I really want to be able to help people and just entertain you guys. So that's it, guys. Those are the answers. I got a little bit long-winded there, forgive me, but I really was passionate about this giveaway. I really wanted to give back to you guys, and here is how we're going to do it. Again, I have $150 going to the first place winner, and I have $100 going to the second and the third place winner. So, without further ado, the first place winner is David Dubois. He scored 8 out of 10 points possible. The second place winner is Mason Crawford. He scored 7.5 out of 10 points, and there was actually a tie, so the other second place, or the second/third place winner, is Paula, my dear friend over at Hillbilly Orchids, and she also scored a 7.5. So please guys, reach out to me. The easiest way to get a hold of me, if you guys are on Instagram, please just hit me with a DM and I will arrange to get you guys your prize. If not, there's an email attached to my details on this channel. You can reach me there at Gmail or Facebook Messenger. I have a Facebook page, so any one of those three are acceptable. Just give me a shout and we will arrange the details. I did change up one thing about the prizes. Instead of doing gift cards, I'm going to go ahead and make it even easier for you guys, and I'm going to provide you guys with an online code. So please hit me up. Each of you have an individual code, and each of them is worth exactly what we talked about as far as the prize money goes. The competition, like I said, was fierce, and I had to throw in the half-point grading scale to be able to separate people. So because everything was so close, and I truly do love and appreciate all of you guys so much, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the rest of you guys, in addition to the winners, to please reach out to me on my social media pages, either DM me on Instagram or hit me up with a message on Facebook, or go to the email on my details for the channel and give me a shout on Gmail. Each and every one of you, let me know how I can get a hold of you guys, because I have a little something special for each and every one of you who participated in this. So thanks again so much for watching. I appreciate all your support. I appreciate all the witty banter. I do absolutely love doing this for you guys, and I do feel blessed that I have the opportunity to interact with so many awesome orchid growers and just awesome people in general out there. You guys really do brighten up every single day, and I absolutely love making these videos for you guys and trying to be a good, bad orchid influence, just like my friend Michael McCarthy. So anyhow, all of you guys, thank you so much for being a part of this. Congratulations to all of the winners. Thank you so much for being a part of my giveaway and for taking the time to take my little quiz. And until next time, guys, please stay safe and happy growing.